excited this Monday. This is probably the best part of my Monday and will probably be the best part of my week because I have two of some of my favorites humans on this week's live. We're doing a special live, and I'm so incredibly happy and excited to be able to do this and really excited to support them both with their upcoming conference. So really excited today. I have both Meenakshi and Tiffany. Can you both introduce yourself and maybe let everyone know what we are celebrating in a few weeks? Let everyone know what's coming up in a few weeks.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Meenakshi.
Okay. I was just probably should have chosen who goes first. Meenakshi, maybe you go first, then we'll have Tiffany.
Okay, absolutely. It's such a joy to be here with you, Aqua, and I think this is the first time that the three of us are together on a LinkedIn, like on an official thing, you know. So this is absolutely fantastic, and for Tiffany and I, it's Monday morning here, so it's such a great way to start the day and the week. My name is Meenakshi Iyer, and I'm the founder and principal of NorthStar Solutions and Services, which is a boutique, future work-oriented virtual coaching, training, and consulting practice. And I'm physically located in Virginia, in the East Coast of the United States. And I met Tiffany and Aqua on Coffee Chat about 2.5, 3 years ago. And we've been collaborators and partners, and now friends. And this is absolutely fantastic to be here with all of you today. And so a little bit about me. After more than I would say 20 plus years of working in tech and health tech, I have now pivoted since middle of 2019 when I started NorthStar Solutions and Services to serve as a leadership coach for folks that work in technology, primarily mid-career leaders, women in tech, and those like me who speak English as an additional language. And those are the folks that I support. And I know why you're smiling, Aqua, because English is an additional language that came up in one of our conversations.
Yes.
Yes. So I support this segment in their professional development and leadership development journeys. And I also work with small and medium-sized technology companies in designing bespoke learning development experiences for their mid-career leaders. So that's what I've been doing. And as has been the norm in the last 4 years, I think some of the most amazing folks that I've met on LinkedIn and other virtual means. And Tiffany and Aqua are two such people. So happy to be here. Over to you, Tiffany.
Yeah. I love when you say that. I feel like we have our own newscast. Yes, echo all those sentiments. 2020 gifts right here in front of me. That is what I consider both of you, because you truly have been gifts since the pandemic started, and have been true friends and partners, collaborators. Nicole, you spoke at our previous conference, and we've just stayed in touch. Both of you had such a respect for you and the work that you do, so much so that I watched both of you present and was like, oh, I need to know more about her. And I was like, I'm going to talk to you. And I hopped in your DMs. But so I'm Tiffany Castano, and I am CEO and founder of CEPHR LLC. CEPHR is an acronym for Cultivating the Evolution of Professional HR, because I believe in transforming HR and how we perceive HR and HR professionals. Right now, over 90% of our professionals are burned out. And so this is a passion topic for me. I support small to medium businesses across the US and all different industries, which is super fun, both in the nonprofit and for-profit sector. So supporting them to build up their teams, build their infrastructure, and as I say, not ruin people at the end of the day. So I am based in Pittsburgh here, where CEPHR is headquartered, but I am originally from Milwaukee. So that's home for me. And yes, I do love cheese, in case you're wondering.
I love it. Yes. Thank you both so much for those introductions. So let's tell them a little bit more about the conference. I have the title here. It's titled Burnout, the Silent Pandemic, Creating Sustainable Recovery by Embracing Equity. I think it's such a great title to a conference. So let us know a little bit more about how you came up with this title and why is it so important that it's being done in conjunction with International Women's Day.
Tiffany, you want to go first?
My gosh, there's like so much. Shout out to the MKE. Somebody's here from Milwaukee. I love it. So the International Women's Day theme, so International Women's Day, as we know, is March 8th. However, we felt it was really important we do align with the theme, but because Meenakshi has had her fourth industrial revolution, her future work conference, since even before I knew her for a year, we like to keep it tied to future of work and relevant topics that way. But we do like to align International Women's Day. They always have such a great topic. And this year's theme is Embrace Equity. And so because we're on this mission to making things sustainable, to this commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, as well as making things sustainable. And we know that women have been and continue to be just really impacted. We really wanted to make our mark. And we also know that across industries that burnout is a huge issue. And so, Meenakshi, I will have to give credit to for coming up with our title and brainstorming it all together. But we've really been grateful that we're able to tackle this question on burnout. How do we know that if we come into it, we may not even recognize it. I know that I didn't when it first happened, and we need tools then to equip to come through it. But then how do we prevent it from happening again? And so that's the whole sustainability piece. And it's always so fun to plan. It is a lot of work, but we have a lot of fun in doing it. And I could probably ramble on and on and on. I'll just turn it over to my co-host over here.
Thank you, Tiffany. And yes, we do have a lot of fun doing this. And I think this is one of the ways in which we have grown as individuals. We have grown our friendship and also our partnership in what we collaborate on at work. And we also, and then, we'll have our retrospectives every so often as we plan our conference as well. And one of the things we both realized this year is that as we bring different elements of the conference together and we put all this work in to curate the event, we're also bringing a lot of, we're learning a lot, and we're bringing new things to our own businesses as well. So I'm going to let you plug that in, Tiffany, what you bring to the conference that's special this year. But I want to talk about a little bit of the history. So as Tiffany alluded, I started the conference. I was too scared to call it a conference. I called it a webinar series. And this was in 2020, about, I want to say, it was in May of 2020. So I was just a few months into setting up my business. And what really, my goals at the time were to sort of create like an online thought leadership forum, if you will, from within my network. And that's what I did. And the topic was 4IR and the future of work, Fourth Industrial Revolution, the future of work. And that was when, that was the theme that I wanted to delve into. And it was right at the sort of start of all the lockdowns around the world. And, we were trying to figure things out as we went along. And so we had this bunch of people from within my network. We all came together and we had this week-long conversation. So it was a 5-day event, and we had different conversations on topics ranging from personal agility to organizational agility to collaboration, focus on human skills, future of jobs. So those were the kind of topics that we talked about. And then in the middle of 2021, so a year later, end of 2020 is when Tiffany and I met. And then we hit it off, and we had all these amazing conversations. And then that year, 2020, I had co-hosted another conference on intersectionality with Hema Kangesan, who's based in Australia. And we invited Tiffany and her colleague to be our speakers. And we had such wonderful conversations and experiences. And I asked Tiffany, hey, I'm doing this thing. I think I'm going to do it again this year. Would you please be my co-host? And Tiffany readily agreed. And I think now we have this sort of tacit agreement that we're going to do it together for as long as we can.
Yes.
So the next year, so 2021 onwards, we've been, like Tiffany said, we've tied it to the International Women's Day. And that was also very intentional because women, particularly at work, in the workplace, we are amongst the most disproportionately affected groups. And that came out in the pandemic. And women are around the world, and regardless of where they lived or where they came from, there were so many challenges that women are facing and continue to face. So we decided to focus on women particularly, and other underserved groups. So we continue to learn and we continue to expand our audience base, if you will. So every year since then, we've kept it tied to the International Women's Day theme. But then this year, we've further expanded it, given that we wanted to focus on burnout. We have expanded it to other underserved groups as well. So like Tiffany was sharing about what she's been noticing in the HR space, I've been noticing with my clients, like all middle managers, women at work, facing the brunt of it, right? And a lot of them, they don't even have the time to process that what they're experiencing is burnout, right? So we just have so much on our plates. So we said, okay, well, this will be a great way to create some, basically hold space for these conversations, and also make sure that our attendees are able to walk away with very tangible, actionable next steps that are accessible to them and they can apply right away.
Yes. Tangible and actionable. I love it. And I just wanted to call out to the amazing humans that are joining us from the other social media platforms. Wanda, glad to have you. So Wanda says hi from St. Louis. And Marissa, I hope I'm saying that correctly. She says kudos to Meenakshi for owning the word conference. Yes.
Thank you.
You held a conference. And I think, based on, where Meenakshi sort of ended up, I'd love for us to talk maybe a little bit about what people can expect if they get to attend the conference and they decide to join the conference. One of the things that I'm really excited about was your keynote speaker, talking about burnout from the perspective of being a cycle, right? Because I think this is something, once again, that a lot of people maybe don't understand about burnout. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the speakers and some of the sessions that people will have a chance to join?
Yeah, absolutely. The keynote speaker is Brandy Olson, and you're absolutely right. She's just fantastic. Her book came out last October, and it's called Real Flow, Break the Burnout Cycle and Unlock High Performance in the New World of Work. So Brandy is the real deal when it comes to talking about organizational agility and really organizational design, team design. Those are her areas of focus. And she's the CEO and founder and chief learning officer at Real Work Done. That's her consultancy. And I also want to give a special shout out to Real Work Done for being our main event sponsor. And and that's how we have the privilege of having Brandy as our keynote speaker. And Brandy has done a lot of work. She works with organizations and leaders in really helping them understand what does it take to prioritize when everything seems to be important or urgent.
Yeah.
Right. And organizations typically are in those tough spots, and particularly so in the last few years. And her main goal is to evoke the awareness around how do we bring humanity back into the way we work. So well-being and doing well financially, she makes the case that these two are actually interconnected. It's not an either-or choice. You can't have one without the other, is the case that she makes. And we will get to hear more about that. She's going to share, we're really excited. She's going to share quite a bit of the research that went into her book. And she's also going to talk to us in terms of how does inequities really in our systems play out, and how does that affect this whole burnout cycle. Gender inequity, but there are so many other ways in which inequities show up in our day-to-day lives. So that's what we're looking forward to hearing from Brandy. Tiffany, what would you like to add?
Thanks. Yes. And Brandy, I got to meet Brandy through Meenakshi. So just a wonderful person, woman, and just I already feel like I've known her for so long. So we're really looking forward to what she's going to bring to the conference. We're also looking forward to a panel on talking about how do we navigate this virtual and hybrid world. We've been doing it for 3+ years now, but there's still kinks. I see it every day in my work. I know that, you all see it based on the work that you're doing, because I'm always watching what you're doing and listening to what, you're hearing from your clients. And I agree with Meenakshi that there is definitely, when I hop into a Zoom room or I'm talking to people in person, it is the women leaders who are the most impacted, the ones who I hold the most space for on a week-to-week basis. And so that is truly a passion project for us. So we're looking forward to helping people navigate that. And what does that look like while you're trying to hold down the fort at home, whether you have children or you have other homemaking, caregiving responsibilities. Again, we know that a lot of those responsibilities do fall to women often, or we're still working as a society often under these old gender norms. And I see that all the time too. Who's taking the notes in the meeting, right? Who's expected to do the additional office housework, as we call it. And so we want to look at, how do we really bring sustainable practices, tools, and tips? We have Angelina Baez, who's going to be doing breath work and some other things with us throughout the conference so that we can really live it out and practice it. And she was very intentional, as were we, as to, what do we do if we have 5 minutes in our day? And I've done these practices with her. She's amazing. I try to do it weekly. But we really need, we're so caught up in the day-to-day. What is really tangible that we can do? We can all spare 5 minutes, get up, stretch our legs, do those sorts of things, and pour into ourselves, because we give so much to our jobs and our careers. And so I'm really looking forward to, what this conference is going to bring for people in that way, as well as all the nuggets. The panels, you've been on one, Akua, are always so insightful. And it is different. Teams are distributed, even the ones who are all in the office. It's new ways of working. We're working with new technology. You're working with clients who may be hybrid, but yet your whole team may be in the office. That alone can cause a lot of stress and strain, or just coming back into, okay, are we back in the office? How do we do this virtual thing when we were plopped right into our homes without a choice? And what are the things that we need to be thinking about? So we're really excited about that. There's a couple of workshops on burnout and caring for yourself. We're really, really looking forward to those as well. And we can say that those will bring a lot of tangible tools and tips too. Jennifer Willer is going to be speaking on, she's going to be doing one of the workshops, and I've been through one of her workshops as well. So lots and lots of golden nuggets and takeaways there coming your way. And then Meenakshi and I, along with Lauren Lefkowitz, are going to be doing a fireside chat, which we're looking forward to share our own burnout stories. What did it look like for us? Because it's different for everyone. And how did we come through? What tools and tips do we have for folks? So I will let you add on to Meenakshi. I feel like I've been talking forever.
Such good stuff. I mean, beyond that awareness piece, right? I love that you brought up about how a lot of times, and I'm going to steal something that I actually saw in the chat, the invisible labor that does tend to be gendered. So thank you so much, Marissa, for sharing that comment, because I think that's such a big thing that we don't always consider. And because of that gendered element to it, a lot of times it's sort of seen as, well, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what people who look like that or who are perceived like that are meant to do. And not recognizing that that is a part of the reason why certain genders tend to fall within these cycles. So thank you so much, Tiffany, for sharing that. And I think it's something that a lot of people need their eyes open to. Meenakshi, what did you want to add?
Just an overview of the agenda, if you will. So we have a keynote, then we have a panel discussion, and then we have 3 workshops, and one of which is going to be interspersed throughout the 5-hour event. Because that's, and exactly to what Tiffany said, we want to model what it will look like for you if you were to infuse some of these practices within your back-to-back meeting-filled days. And so we want to model that out during the event. And then the other piece also is that we have another workshop called Hit Refresh. This is similar to Angelina's Wednesday workshops. Hit Refresh is a virtual community co-created, and Anjali Leon is one of my dear friends and mentors, and she's one of the co-creators of this community. And so she, alongside with Lakshmi Ramaseshan, who is another dear friend and colleague, and they're all Agile practitioners, very active members of the Women in Agile communities. So they both are going to do a workshop. Basically what they're doing is they're bringing a special edition of their Wednesday workshops of Hit Refresh. And it's a LinkedIn community, and it's open to everyone, so you all can look it up. And they're going to bring that to the conference, a special edition of that workshop to the conference, because it happens to be a Wednesday and it fits right in with what we're trying to do. I just wanted to add three things. One is about the panel discussion. We've been very intentional in representation. So with our panel, there are three panelists, two of whom identify as male. And we're intentional in that because, yes, it's an International Women's Day related event, but it's not just for women. We need to have these conversations with our allies, alongside our allies. So there is that exchange of ideas, and also, we develop empathy for each other rather than always feeling like we are up against each other. How can we work together to solve some of these systemic issues that we're faced with? In that also, one of our panelists, Satpal Singh, is based in Scotland, so we're going to get a little bit of the across the pond view as well in that. So Brian, Satpal, and Lakshmi are our panelists. The second thing is that, and as you were sharing the event details, Tiffany, it occurred to me that all our panelists, and this is something we've always done, all our programming, we are personally invested in that. So between Tiffany and I, we have either attended those workshops personally or have a personal connection with the presenter. So there is some sort of I would say a very personalized vetting process, if you will. So we know what we're bringing to the conference, and we're very confident in the value and the quality of the programming. And that's the second thing I wanted to call out. And the third thing is that everything that we design, we are very intentional about the attendee experience, and everything that we do is focused around that. So we do a lot of human-centered design thinking and making it attendee focused. So if I were attending this, what would I be looking for? And not only that, based on some data. So for example, this year we have used two reports that are published and publicly available. One is the State of the Burnout Report 2023, and then the State of Burnout in Tech in 2022. So we are using those reports and all the analysis that has come out of that as foundational aspects for the programming during the conference.
Yes, I just love the intentionality. I love the amount of attention to detail. And most importantly, I think, as someone who's had the opportunity to be a part of events and conferences that you've created, the community that you really build around the things that are important to you, right? You truly invest in your community and your network. And I know that's something that I've benefited from. So I really do appreciate it. And it's just exciting to continue to see and exciting to continue to be a part of. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. You said community. So there's one thing I do want to bring up here is that we are very intentional about keeping this as a very boutique event. So our intention is not to, so we are very mindful of the term scalability and how we use it, right? So for us, it's not about maximizing the number of attendees. Mm-hmm. It is maximizing the impact for the attendees. Exactly to your point, we want our attendees to build at least one meaningful connection with a fellow attendee, a speaker, a panelist, right? And walk away with that, something that they can continue the conversations with or build accountability partnerships with fellow attendees, so that there is impact of this conference, of this event. Because we understand that 5 hours is a big chunk of someone's time, and so we want to make sure that you walk away with that human connection. And so for us, it's not about having 500,000 attendees. We want our maximum. We want to be at around 125 to 150 folks, so that there is that sense of community even after the event. It's not one other conference. And this is something one of our previous speakers, Lotus, also shared in her video message, that this is not a conference where you are just talked to and then you go back and do your own thing. This is a truly participatory event, and we invite our attendees to connect with one another, and we create that space for folks.
Thanks for sharing that, Meenakshi. And one of the other things, the community is a shared value of ours across this whole where you included. But also, for Meenakshi and I and the work that we're doing, and feedback is another, this has been a very, very iterative process every single year, and we celebrate that. So that's definitely something that we're celebrating. We fold those agility principles right into our planning, and we do it like we'll text each other. We have all these means to communicate. It's like, hey, I was thinking this. Should we do it this way? And we have these little mini brainstorming sessions, but we also collect feedback throughout the conference and after from folks, because we want to understand how can we be better? What was that experience like for people? Because we all know that when we make assumptions, we're not allowing for what that experience truly may have been like, and whether that's in the workplace or a conference, talking with a friend or a family member, we can't make those types of assumptions and presume to know. And so we really love gathering that feedback, and what we've gotten from that is this beautiful process of, wow, look at the impact that we made that we weren't even intending to make. And I'm not saying that as a humble brag for us, though I do, I know all three of us celebrate what's remarkable, right? Like you two are unremarkable facilitators.
Yes.
So I know
Just
you can stop me. We are going to brag, right?
Yes.
But it is when you walk into something with intentionality, the outcomes can far exceed your expectations. And every single year that's been the case. And before I forget to mention, speaking of our iterative process, this year, we went through the SHRM credentialing process to become recertification providers. And so that is a huge deal this year. So we're offering 4.25 professional development credits for folks who are in the HR space, who want to attend the conference. So not only do you get all these other wonderful things, but we really felt that that was important this year as well. How do we continue to step it up? How do we continue to offer even more value to our attendees outside of intentionally having accessible pricing for folks? So, we're not trying to charge exorbitant amounts of money either. We want it to be accessible, but we also want people to understand, and part of the reason we do charge for the conference is that you are making an investment in yourself and in your career. And we really fully believe that these are tools and tips that you can take with you. Having been burnout sufferers, we know that the impact is there, and we want to give that to you too, so you don't have to go through maybe what we went through. And if you are, how do you you don't have to struggle through it. Let us help you with some tools and tips to get through. So
yes. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tiffany. Yeah, I think that's actually a great segue. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and bring this up. So for those of you that are joining us, just use this really quick QR code. It'll take you straight to the page so you can learn more about the event. And of course, also, invest in this, I think, really great event. I'm excited to attend. Meenakshi, I think you were about to say something.
No, I was going to just brag a little bit more about Tiffany on behalf of Tiffany.
Please. No humbleness necessary.
No, because it's a lot of work. Between the two of us, we put in close to, and I'm working this full time in the sense that as I build my pipeline for NorthStar, that's a whole nother story, right? I've come back to doing full NorthStar full time after a couple of years. So between us, I don't know, we clock close to like 100+ hours every month in the conference, and we started planning this during the holiday season last year. And so we were able to hit the ground running in terms of our event logistics, most of it by the first week of January. And that's helped us immensely in terms of the design and all the inputs. So we had a lot of time to iterate as we went along. And the other thing is, as you heard Tiffany talk about the SHRM credentials and the PDCs, or the continuing education units that you can get for attending this conference. That was a process. And to get through that, and not only just in terms of the application fee, but also the effort that goes into completing that application form and making sure that we're meeting all the criteria and making this possible. So that's no mean feat. So Tiffany, I just wanted to thank you for that. And I think it's a huge value that you've helped us provide through our conference. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's one of the things that we do as well. So we're not just putting this on and asking you to register and pay and attend and spend your time with us. There really is a give get. And so we contribute every single year, both financially and in programming to the conference. So putting in the time to make sure we got this SHRM thing right. This was weeks back and forth. And when I would hit snags, I'd be like, Meenakshi, we're almost there. We're getting there. But I hit another snag and I would reach out. And I was grateful that the SHRM team was really great at responding to those. And because this was something we aspired to do last year, and we realized what a feat it was. And we said, okay, maybe next year. And so we're really proud to be doing that. And hopefully next year ICF as well.
Yes. I started that process this year. So more to come on that.
Yes. I love it. And I think this is a great segue or a great way to sort of summarize what we've been discussing. But my next question here was, this is the third edition of the, of this event. As you mentioned, Tiffany, you love taking feedback, listening to what people have to say. What else can people look forward to? We have an amazing keynote address that we're going to have, right? We have, these credentials that you can get. What else can people be excited or look forward to?
Well, one is we always invite people to connect with one another. So we create that, we hold space for that, where people can connect with one another and actually have conversations. In the past, we've also created like a LinkedIn group, but we have noticed that it kind of dies off in the end. So we'll see what works. We also have a little bit of a surprise that we're going to hold on to as a surprise until the day of. And it's going to be good. It's going to be a mix of technology and a little bit of research and all of that good stuff, but it's going to be a live something. So I'm just not going to say anything more.
Okay. I love it.
Yes. That'll be a big takeaway for every attendee. So it's going to be a takeaway for every attendee that's going to happen live. And it'll be technology based, and it'll be your personal takeaway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sajid always has something insightful to add.
Yes.
Thank you for always attending and supporting us, Sajid.
Yes. Sajid has been a great friend and ally, and he comes to us from Toronto, Canada.
Amazing. All right. Well, I think there was a question here that I believe he provides an answer to. What are the challenges of future of work from my diversity standpoint? Prevents many challenges. Yes. Bias in hiring, unconscious bias, access to opportunities. Yes. Unequal pay. Yes. A lot of these elements. Yes. And a lot of this can also further lead to burnout, right?
Yes. When you continue to see, and that's the thing, right? Inequities don't always have to be based on gender. Yes, that's a big part of it. But you also see accent bias, for example.
Yes.
Right? And so you struggle with that, and folks, and that's a big part of the work that I do with my clients as well, is focusing on, because a lot of them who speak English as an additional language, they're already thinking twice before saying, and then there's a lot of processing that happens before they actually say something. And in environments where we are so performance-based, there is very little opportunity or reduced opportunity for those of us that take the time to formulate our sentences, to speak. Before that, like 5 other people have spoken in the meeting or whatever forum we are in, then we tend to sort of shrivel back, right? And so that kind of emotional labor often gets not even acknowledged in our work environments, right? And that can lead to that chronic stress, which is what burnout is all about. So there's so many of those. I know that in my own experience, not having that sort of pedigree of having been to a university in the US when I first came here. So that big network that people tend to have here in the US of having gone to school, the same school, and having that alumni network, I don't have that advantage at all. And so you miss out on a lot of opportunities, or even being the ability to participate in conversations. So those are things that can adversely affect your experience as an employee, or even your level of engagement in the workplace. So those are all additional challenges that we have to sort of endure.
Really great points. And what comes to mind, even talking about accents or speaking English as an additional language, is also this idea of code switching as well, and how much energy that actually takes, and how people who've done it for so long can't even recognize how draining it actually can be. But it is incredibly draining to have to switch, your intonation, your accent, to have to show up and feel like you have to perform, right? That performative element of it is incredibly expensive, energetically, emotionally as well.
Absolutely. And going back to other tangible takeaways is I have an open invitation I plan to do like a public facing I'm Remarkable workshop in May. So everyone that comes to the conference will have an open invitation to that. So that's the other tangible takeaway that we have.
Yes. And I think that's a great place to celebrate and to recognize the things that make us unique and that we can add. Yes. Yeah. Tiffany, please.
Yeah. And one of the other things, and this was born out of kind of our iterative process that we always do, is we know that because of the labor market right now, a lot of folks are facing layoffs, challenges. So we are also offering 50% of a discount to those who are job searching, because let's be honest, job searching is a full-time job in and of itself. And when you're caretaking, I know some people who are going through this right now, and I'm listening to their stories and trying to be another avenue to be able to support folks, to be able to attend this conference. We felt like that was really important to have some support for the folks out there who are job searching, because that too can lead to burnout. And so we want to just put our mark there as well.
Yeah. Thank you for calling that out. Absolutely. So we have a promo code for that, and we can include that in the show notes later.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. Just an update actually on what was shared in the chat. The complete content above was actually generated by Chat GPT. Interesting.
I did kind of wonder.
Okay. I was like, he typed really fast to get all that in there quickly. Wow. And that's a really great point. I'm actually going to be hosting a conversation on Friday about AI and bias, and how so many people believe that AI can't be biased because it seems like it's separate from being a human. And so we're going to be talking about how AI comes from humans. So if humans are biased, anything that humans create or touch will be biased. So make sure you join us for that. But I do think that's an important thing to keep in mind as well, that we've created algorithms, systems that seem beyond us as humans, but still could be perpetuating some of the same issues and lead to some of the same issues that humans have created. But thank you so much for putting that out there.
Absolutely. And, somebody a little bit related to what you just said, I would encourage everyone to check out Dr. Ruha Benjamin's work in that, and her book that came out recently called Viral Justice. I had the privilege of attending her 30-minute live conversation where she talked about the research and the whole idea of race and technology and other bias-related challenges in technology, and how that affects technology and influences what technology we build. Dr. Ruha Benjamin, she's a sociologist, and she's with Princeton University, and her book Viral Justice. I wanted to put a plug in for that.
I will definitely check that out. Yes. Okay. All right. Well, maybe to close this out, I'd love to maybe hear from both of you one thing that everyone should keep in mind, maybe just one takeaway even from this conversation as we round up.
For me, I think it would be the focus on what is it that we can do to recognize and nurture the power that each of us has inherently.
Yes.
Right? Especially in a topic like burnout, for example, it takes such a toll that we often tend to feel like there's nothing we can do to change anything. Especially if you are looking for a job or have a lot going on and you're juggling multiple roles at home and at work, I think it feels like a lot. And so it's very easy, no, not easy. It's rather natural to feel like you are just one person. What can you do to influence anything, right? And I think that we give ourselves much less credit. And I think there's a lot we can do to really take back our own sense of agency and our power in those situations. And there are very, micro steps and micro shifts that we can make in that. One thing I would say is to really examine how we talk to ourselves, and how we talk about ourselves to ourselves. And if we examine ourselves, we would find that we are often much kinder to others than we are to ourselves. And so that all these things add up to the burnout cycle. So I think my call out would be that each of us has the power inside of us to overcome whatever it is that we're going through, and not to forget that. So what is it that we can do? What's the one thing that is within our sphere of influence, and what actions are we taking towards that? So that would be my submission.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah, I think sort of tangentially related, probably directly as well, because what first kind of was starting to surface for me is name it, claim it, own it. And I always share that.
Yes.
Last year, we supported people with really the self-promotion piece as well in the conference. And I'm the person who's always going to stand on the soapbox, because the right thing is always the right thing at the end of the day. And so what I would say is, if you're experiencing something, you're feeling something, number one, name it. What is the thing? Call it what it is. Because for me, and I'll share more about this in the conference, but I was afraid once I realized I went through round one of burnout. Once I realized that I was in it again, I felt shame. I felt ashamed. Like, how did I get here again? I should have known better. So it's okay for us to name the thing and to figure out how are we going to get through. So that's claiming it. And then we can, then we own it. And it's, what am I going to do? And what support do I need? Who's going to help me get through?
Yes.
Meenakshi and I are big. This is another piece of the takeaways in the conference on calls to action. And so what is the call? It's a self-call to action, because self-leadership is something that I know is very important to Meenakshi in her work, as well as in the work that I do at CEPHR. We need to be self-led. And so it's naming it, claiming it, owning it, but giving ourselves grace, because if you are in burnout, or if you're approaching burnout, or you're trying to recover from it, being really harsh on yourself is not helpful. And allowing other people to define your success, or to define how you should be, whether that's code switching or all the context switching that we do in the day. We just had this conversation with Brandy, actually, very powerful conversation, but we context switch so many times throughout the day as well. So it's owning your experience. And that's why I put it, kind of under this name it, claim it, own it, because a lot of times people will gaslight you and make you feel like your experience is not valid, or it's not the true experience of what is happening in the environment. And so we have to know for ourselves, and like Meenakshi said, that self-love, to be able to say, no, this is what I'm experiencing, and what do I need to be able to move through this? My late father always said, there's only one way through a problem, and that's over, around, and through. So we can't do that alone. So how do we get other people to help support us? Because you don't have to sit in that alone. And that's a huge takeaway I would leave people with.
Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. And I think it's echoed by something that was shared in the chat. Someone who is joining us has shared, I stood on the shoulders of giants to see further. It's okay not to know all, and join hands with other experts to see further. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the chat or the comments, and we'll get back to it. But I hope to see all of you in March at the conference. I know I'm excited to be there, and I'm so excited to hear more about your stories. I'm excited to take a listen to all the guest speakers, the panels. I think it's going to be amazing. So thank you both so much for joining me to share a little bit more about your upcoming events.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks to everyone who joined.
Yes.
And who will join later on We Probably Movie.
Yes,
Yeah. If
absolutely.
you watch the replay, please also let us know. But thank you all so much. Happy Monday, and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.